And we're back. This is the third segment of Colombia Calling episode 368. And our very special guest this week is Bruce Mclean, and he's in the coffee zone. And we're going to be talking tourism this week because, you know what? We've had some hard-hitting issues of late, and I know you like them, and I know you like hearing about what's going on in Colombia, but also we need to look at the other side of things. And tourism is, of course, what the president wanted to declare the new petroleum for Colombia. So we're going to talk about this, and it also coincides with the big international tourism fair that Colombia hosts every year. And in fact, where I caught the COVID virus last year, this time last year, obviously pressing the palms in a big convention center which had more than 40,000 visitors in it. So it seemed like a great host for the COVID disease. I'm happy to say that it was only a light case, and I was laid out for just 3 days. But my guest this week is Bruce Mclean, and he's from New Zealand originally. He's now relocated to the coffee zone, and his company is BnB Colombia Tours. So welcome on the Colombia Calling podcast, Bruce.
Thank you very much, Richard. Pleasure to be here.
No, it's a real pleasure to have you on, and we've been in contact for a little while, and we've chatted a little bit. But give our listeners a bit of background about you, because you're from New Zealand, and well, you met, I guess, I mean, it's the story: boy meets girl, boy falls in love with girl, boy moves to Colombia.
More or less, but sort of, it's more or less, but over a couple of years. Yes, that's more or less what happened. I came to visit my sister who lives here in Bogota. She's actually a missionary, been here for around 25 odd years. And I was lucky enough to be here for about 3 months that first time, and just fell in love with the country and a girl from the coffee zone. So as you do, I ended up visiting. I saw much of obviously I saw the coffee zone. I saw much of Colombia here, got up to Tirona Park. I went to the Pacific Coast, went to San Gil, went to the Amazon, saw just, and everywhere I was just love at first sight. It was just different culture, every location, the people so nice, so friendly. It was awesome. And the fact that I met Paula, it just sort of made it a little bit better as well. So that's more or less how it started. I ended up going back after those 3 months. I was living in Sydney, Australia at the time. So I was back there, and Paula ended up joining me over there. We actually got married like a year later. My mother actually married us in her garden. So it was kind of nice, something a little bit different, a bit special. And yeah, now we're finally here, finally in the coffee zone. It's like a little paradise. It is a paradise.
There you go. This is what people want to hear, because I have a lot of listeners who consider moving out to start either adventure tourism companies or agencies, or perhaps, you know, open a hostel or something like that. And of course, I've got a good cadre of listeners who consider retiring to the coffee zone. And to me, I mean, I've said it 1,000 times if I've said it once on this podcast. I don't know why we don't all live in the coffee zone. It's so wonderful. I mean,
it is. You're right. It's
beautiful.
The only thing we don't have here is a beach. We have everything else. We've got the mountains. Yeah, it's just spectacular. Well, I mean, coming from Sydney, especially when I used to live like 5 minutes away from, 8 beaches sort of thing. That was the only change or adjustment that I've had to make to come here. But here we've got beautiful, lush mountains. We've got crops from here: coffee, platano, avocados, oranges, everything you could want fruit-wise. So many birds, amazing variety of birds. It's a paradise, and people need to come and see it.
Yeah. I think one thing that struck me, because of course I spend a lot of time, as you know, up in the Caribbean area known as the Costa, is that when me and my wife first visited the coffee zone, we were just amazed at how polite and well educated the people were. This is not to say that Costeños are not polite and well educated, but they have their way of doing things, you know. So it's like, yeah, there's a lot of shouting, there's a lot of chaos. Then they might not being rude, they're just being the way they are. But then we got to the coffee zone, and even the bus drivers were just cordial. Normally in the coast, these are the guys that shout at you, don't really care if you fall over when you're getting on the bus to sit down. It's careening around a corner. The attendant more or less hurls you off at the place you want. Whereas in the coffee zone, it was like pulled in nicely. It's like, this is your stop. Don't worry. I'll wait until you're fully off the steps. Have a nice day. And I'm not sure. I'm not sure where I am. It really is special. It is a special part of Colombia.
It is. From my experience, I've found friendly people basically everywhere I've gone in Colombia. But it is, the coffee zone is just that little bit more amable, as you'd say. They're that little bit friendlier. They're a little bit nicer. It's not a big city feel here as well. Not like if you're walking in Bogota, you're lost. You want directions. You can't get your phone out on the street for one, and so you want to ask somebody, and they're just as likely to just look away and carry on. Here, they'll stop. They'll help you. They'll get their own phone out, give you directions, show you how to get there. A lot of the time, they'll walk with you if it's close. They're kind people.
Would you say there's a similarity to sort of rural New Zealand and rural Colombia, the coffee zone, in that respect?
In that respect, yes, I would, because Kiwis are friendly people as well. They, it's hard to find angry or rude people in New Zealand, really. Or you can find them, but it's not easy. You have to look for them. But here, nature-wise as well, it's a lot of the landscape reminds me of it, but obviously there's a lot more birds here. Just the nature, it's amazing here. We have a little vine out the back, which is passion fruit, which we planted, and it just sort of took off, and it was just awesome. The passion fruit's so sweet. And then a few weeks ago, we noticed that it more or less died, and we saw, because there was a couple of hundred caterpillars on it, and they just ate them all. And now, yesterday and today, they're just starting to come out. They all cocooned up, and now we've got, there's about 100 odd caterpillars, 100 odd butterflies, all just flying around the back. That sort of thing I haven't experienced in New Zealand. It's special here. It really is. There's something about everything here. It's just that little bit different, a little bit more.
And that kind of thing, it doesn't make you bitter that your passion fruit has gone. You
not at all.
Replaced with another exuberance of life.
Exactly. I'm still hoping that it will come back, but if it doesn't, so be it. We'll plant other passion fruit.
It's so fertile there, and the volcanic land, the volcanic earth, means that everything, and that climate which sits in between, obviously hot and cold, and that just perfect, where I guess you just don't even break a sweat. I mean, it's that perfect heat.
Oh, well, that's depending where you are. Okay. See, there's the coffee zone. It's got, being mountainous, there's different levels. Some bits are cool, perfect, where you don't break the sweat. Some places like just last week in Santa Rosa, Termales de Santa Rosa, where they have the waterfalls, beautiful waterfalls. We often send tourists there. They had hail, first time in a long time, but it gets cold there at night. Here, where I am, I'm based in a little pueblo, or a little town called Viterbo, and here's like population 12,000 people, and we're in a valley. So here it's more or less around 30 odd degrees every day. So it's a case of you're sort of sweating just when you're sitting doing nothing. It can be some really warm days here. When it's cold, it's like 22 degrees, which I've got to think what that is in Fahrenheit. I think it's around 90 Fahrenheit to 70, but I'm not certain.
Yeah, like that,
I'd have to think about that. It's not. Yeah, it's not. It never gets cold, not to the point. I'm in shorts and t-shirt every day, with sandals. That's how I dress. Yeah. That's it.
Do you, is there a nice breeze off the mountains then that comes in and takes off the edge?
Sometimes.
Okay.
During the day, the peaks of the day, I'd say between 11 to 2, 2:30, sometimes 3. Can be quite hot. You don't go outside unless you've got a hat on. it's a small pueblo. So from 12 to 2, everything's closed except for the restaurants.
Yeah.
Everybody closes for that 2 hours, their lunch break, goes home, out of the heat, just relaxes, then goes back. And so it starts to cool down a little bit later on, but it seriously is like a paradise. You can, go horse riding at nighttime here, and it's beautiful. It's, go in the moonlight. It's spectacular. It really is.
I mean, I do not know this town, Viterbo. Tell us a little bit about the town in relation to, let's say, major coffee zone cities, or I guess Armenia, Pereira, and Manizales. Where is it?
Okay, we're sort of about an hour north of Pereira.
Okay.
So generally, people, when they come into the coffee zone, generally everybody arrives in Pereira. Not everybody, but because Armenia is quite large, and Manizales, but Manizales, the flights might get cancelled because of the fog, and Armenia doesn't have quite as much centrality, or is not as centered into the coffee zone as Pereira. So for me, Pereira is the best place to land. From there, it's sort of more or less 40 minutes to an hour one direction is Salento and the Cocora Valley, which is, if you come into the coffee zone, that's one place you have to go. It's ridiculously beautiful. Actually, it's got the tallest wax palms in the world there. It's got, all the colourful streets. It truly is an experience just walking down those streets there. You've got Finlandia on that side, Santa Rosa on that side, Armenia a bit further along, another hour away. From Pereira another direction, more or less an hour, you've got Manizales, and we're sort of the other way. So we're not so much in the tourist zone. There is tourism here, but it's not what it should be, and it's not what it's going to be. I know in a few years' time, it is going to just be an explosion here. For me, I really do think Viterbo is going to be the new Salento for this side of Pereira. It's just because the nature that's around here. It's the location. There's a tunnel getting built right now that's going to cut the time from traveling from here to Medellin to 3.5 hours. So it should be down to 4.5 hours by the end of this year. And after they finish the roadworks on the other side of the tunnel, down to 3.5 hours. It's going to, once that tunnel's built, this is going to be the route, I believe, that people will take. So it'll be the triangle from Medellin, past from Viterbo, into Pereira, into the coffee zone. It's going to be a bit of a triangle here, I'm sure.
I went to Salento probably about 10 years ago, and then I went back maybe about 5 or 4 years ago. And my second visit, I guess, coincided with a weekend, and I was taking someone from the owner of a very famous travel agency in the UK, international travel agency, and we couldn't walk down the middle street, the main street for people, and it is beautiful. Let's not get started. And it is a gateway to the Cocora, the Valle del Cocora, and there's just so much to see and do around there. But would you want Viterbo to convert into a mass tourism destination there?
To that extent, no. And to be honest with you, I think it won't get to that because of the heat. People will come here, I believe, for 2, maybe 3 days at the most. But Salento, people will go and stay for 4 or 5 days a week sometimes in that area. Here, but when you're coming here, we're so close to other pueblos that people could stay as well. Apia, which is up in the mountains, beautiful little town as well. Great walking tracks around there. It's got bird watching around there. We do tours from around that area for paragliding as well. It's wonderful. It's a great town, perfect for people to stay as well as here. There's other ones like Belacasar, which actually, Belacasar, it's on the other side, right up this side, up another mountain. From there, you've got a magical view of 4 different departamentos, of 4 different departments. And there's actually a giant statue of Jesus, where you can actually climb up into the statue, right up, and view out different ways, all the way up to his nostrils, and look out his nostrils at an amazing view, which is like 45 meters high. It's a great, so it wouldn't just be here, sort of what I think. And there's the thinkers around as well.
Yeah.
And there's just too much.
If you can filter and you can, let's say, dilute the numbers amongst other towns, first of all, you're going to have happy neighbors.
Yes.
And then secondly, you're enabling somewhere like Viterbo and like Belalcázar and I think it's Arpia and all these other ones to improve their infrastructure at a gradual pace. It doesn't need to be overnight, because I know that Salento was growing for a substantial time, but it almost felt that from one night to the next day it just became almost unmanageable. But one thing I'm not worried about in the coffee zone is the quality of service and standard, and the quality of fresh food. I mean, those are things that I just don't. And logistics, as we sort of touched on before, let's say the bus drivers being so polite and the cars arriving on time. I believe that the people have the capability to do that. But as you say, the tunnel's being built, so the infrastructure is being brought up to a standard which is very positive, because Colombia is renowned for its poor infrastructure for obvious reasons. We don't need to get into that. But do you feel that Viterbo and the neighboring countries will be able to step up and meet the challenges of let's say, quite an incremental increase in tourism then?
Absolutely. I have no doubt, because people aren't going to stop going to Salento. They're still going to go there as well. And it's a case of, mention just something that you did mention before about you went on a weekend. There's something that we always suggest is to try not to go in a weekend. Salento is one of those places. It's a small town, wonderful town. Weekends very busy. Or if we do organize a tour that includes Salento, that's going to be the first stop. So you're going to be getting there, you're going to be in the morning, you're going to walk around, check it out, enjoy yourself, and then you're going to be going out to the Cocora Valley or to a coffee finca or something like that, where you've got space and you can relax and you've got the fresh air. But here, if I think about Viterbo in the way of how it's building itself, it's increasing, it's getting more and more attractive for me. I've only been living here 2 years, 2 and a bit years. I've known it for about 3.5 years. They've, parts around the plaza, they've widened the footpaths already. Some buildings, they've got some new beautiful buildings there. They're improving the attractiveness, I suppose you could say, of the facades. They're painting a lot of different places. They've actually got a really good cafe here now. There's, because being in a small mountain town or a small town, you don't expect to be able to get a good coffee, but you can. It's generally, for me, I like this, getting a tintico on the side of the road. That's what I like. But you can get a nice latte or cappuccino here. You can get some really good cocktails here now. So it's already on that path. So it feels to me like they're already ready for that increase, for the increase of foreign tourists, not just the Colombian tourists, which are already starting to come.
Well, of course, you got us onto the next sort of point there. I mean, we've been in, I would say, since the darkest years of the Colombian conflict. 2020 has been the next darkest year in terms of tourism and, say, the financial, the global economic situation. But for those of us in tourism and the service industry, it's been, to use a positive word, it's been spectacularly bad. So how have you, we have in Montpos had small peaks, like mini high seasons. We had a mini high season, December, January, of Colombians, because of course no one's leaving the country, and they were finally granted permission to leave their homes. And given that Montpos is located strategically between Bogota and the Caribbean coast, we became quite a enabled strategic stop on the way, and it's got its attractions and people want to come, so we did all right. And then February was miserable. I mean, totally miserable. And I think the people that called me, I never felt lonely because the bank called me up about 10 times a day to remind me of my payments.
Excellent, excellent.
But now we're seeing, fortunately, a little, upturn for the 2 weeks of, I guess, what they'd be half term and Semana Santa right now. But then, what of the other side of May? And because all of these months previously were my foreign months, all of them are groups from France, Germany, Belgium, Holland. When do we think? First of all, let's get back to your company here, BnB Colombia Tours. Do you cater? Do you have people from the Colombian market who take your tours?
No.
No.
In generally, no. It's more or less our tours. No. What we do offer now, we offer private transport basically throughout Colombia as well.
Okay.
That is something that we are starting to get some interest on from Colombians. So that is something that we're looking at building that side of our business as well. But generally, we focus on providing those English-speaking tours for those foreigners. I know, from my own experience, the first time I was here, it was near impossible to find English-speaking guides. It's much easier now, but at that time, it was just, tiresome on everybody. Nobody, wants to translate constantly, and it's an awkward situation when you have to ask somebody, what did they say? And they're just like, oh, come on, give me a break. It's just, just enjoy something. Go have a coffee,
So, in this last, let's say 9 months, you haven't had any reservations?
Since February last year, looked like this is going to be the best, best year, obviously, like everybody thought. It was just amazing. Then this happened, and then all of a sudden, basically every day tour, every transfer was cancelled. So that sort of stopped everything. I was lucky enough that, we try to build a good relationship with the people who book for package tours. The package tours for a couple of weeks or a month sort of thing, or 2 to 3 weeks, I should say, very rare a month. But so we're able to get them to postpone to this year or later. They're comfortable providing, we're happy to hold the deposit. It's no problem for us just to keep it there. It's safe. Only problem we've ever had is with airlines, which, they do what they want to do. They're airlines. But as far as that's concerned, that was more or less it. We didn't receive any reservations, any bookings until December. I think we sold a tour, which turned out to grow into 4 tours, four tours in total. That was with the help of an awesome guide. But from there, we had a couple of tours booked for January, but then no, they got cancelled. But we have got, a couple coming up in April. Have got a couple of tours which are from people from the US as well. Nice. So it's like, it's not anywhere near what it was. And I don't expect it to be there for a long time, but so, that is where we are.
I guess the best way of putting it is Anglo-Saxon, and I enjoy planning ahead, which, in a lot of cases is very different to what goes on here already. And as we've said, yes, as you mentioned, 2020 was going to be the most incredible year. It really was. It just, and then of course we didn't hold on to deposits. We gave them all back, which was really punishing. It was bend over time. It really was. And then I don't know, when you say when it's going to return, we do okay from Colombians, which is our benefit. That allows us to pay some bills and keep my staff on and pay them the living wage and above the living wage, in fact, and into their pensions and into their healthcare and everything. But I need the foreigners back, and I don't think, some agencies have said to me that they're fairly certain they'll have a tour or two by November, but I'm not banking wholly on that. We've been through some really rough months, and I'd hate to sort of, plan ahead and say, we're going to be okay by then. I want to be positive, but it's been so hard.
I think by November, the US market will definitely be coming here. That's from what I read, what I hear, what I talk to people about. It's all just now there's the domestic, and there's also a bit of Latin America. They're starting to travel now, because you can still come here so long as you've got that negative PCR test. It's not a problem. You can come here. People are still. We are, Americans are still coming here. But it's going to be, and not until really they all get the vaccine, or a good chunk of them. But that, I think I read the other day that they're looking at the US thinking May or June as their target. So if everybody there has the vaccine after that, then there's no reason why they won't start. They're planning at the very latest, if not start traveling. In fact, I have got 2 people who postponed their trip from last year who are planning on coming June or July after they've got the vaccine. So that is, so people will start then. But in reality, I think it'll be closer. October, November is when it will really get close to normal, I think. What I think will help Colombia a lot? Encanto. The movie that is going to come out from Disney, I think that will help. I think they'll see that and they'll think we want to be there. We know it's a cartoon, but we still want to be there. That's what I think will help us a lot as well. I think the timing of that is perfect.
I think I've had emails of people wanting me to get someone from Encanto, from that movie, on the podcast. So if anyone out there is listening and has contact, please, because this was going to be our big year for us in Monpós because of the Wade Davis River Magdalena book, The River of Dreams, and that was going to be big for us. But I think a lot of people have read it, and hopefully that sort of drives up. And then there's a guy later on in the year who's got another book coming out around that stuff. So all of this is positive for Colombia. All of this, and actually your comments have lifted my lifted the cloud of negativity that seems to shroud me at the moment. But it's just hard, when you've got an establishment and staff, and you're trying to look after them too. But let's go on to your company. I mean, you offer day tours and multi-day tours all over Colombia, and of course, I think your expertise is in the coffee area because that's where you're based. Oh, one last question about Viterbo. So you're seeing the upturn, the immediate or the imminent upturn in Viterbo's tourism. Have you bought up all of the properties on the main plaza then?
Unfortunately, no. Look, here's a tip for you. There's a hotel that's for sale. It's been for sale for 2 years because they've overpriced it. But it is for sale. It's like a block away from the plaza. If I had the money, I would buy that, completely change it on the inside, put a pool in there. Seriously, if I had the cash, I would invest in a good hotel here.
Well, how much are they asking for it?
If I recall correctly, it was going to be working out to something like 200,000, 250,000 US. So it's not like a huge, but for what it is, it's like probably worth, maybe 100,000.
So that's like 1,000 millones de pesos, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
And do you know how many rooms it's got?
From memory, because I looked at it a couple of years ago. So I got to, I sometimes think of my brain is like a sponge that just absorbs everything, and everything sort of comes out slowly, drip by drip. If I remember rightly, around 20-something, 21, 22 rooms. But as I said, it's something that really you need to rip it all out, start again.
So it's a double the investment on the purchase is what's happening now. It's like
wouldn't surprise me, but it's a big area. You easily 2-story. It's a 1-story now. It'd be easy to make it 2-story. It's actually got a section. It's got a private apartment there as well. At one stage last year, all the shops underneath were for sale as well. So you could have got the whole, at the front, I should say. So you could have got a lot. No, but there are some. I would look at
hotels. I'm pretty sure of that. But for everyone out there, sitting on a nest egg, a retirement fund, why not? But we moved on. So now I wanted to talk a little bit about your company, BnB Colombia Tours, and we can find you on Instagram and Facebook, and the website's BnB Colombia Tours.com.
Yes, well, it's BnB Colombia and BnB Colombia Tours.
Right.
We call ourselves BnB Colombia Tours, And if you click on that one or put in that into the URL, into the web search, no problem, it'll just redirect you to the other.
Yeah.
So
I was looking at it, and I mean, I could see that you don't like actively publicize some areas, but you do sell them. Like a place that's, I mean, really dear to my heart, and I've been twice, is Guaviare, and I love it, and I find it so fascinating. So for those of you who don't know Colombia too well, perhaps you go Bogota, and then south of Cundinamarca you go into the Meta department, and then south of that, so it's almost directly south, each one is the department of Guaviare. And okay, you're on the edges, and I should probably bring us up to speed, is that there was a military bombing of an area, El Retorno, not so long ago, and dreadful things happened. But around San Jose de Guaviare, which is a region where you can visit, in periods of calm, it's spectacular. I mean, the natural, I would say, elements that where you have the plains or the savannas meeting the Amazon, and therefore there's this clash of two different geographies that makes it so incredible. And then the indigenous people, the original settlers, have a very rich culture, and I love it. I mean, I totally love it. But you don't actively, it's only people that ask for it, you would pitch that.
More or less, yes, because it is out of the way, unfortunately. It's something you have to think, you have to know about it. You want to go and see, as you said, get involved a bit, or experience the indigenous culture there. And if you know about that, or if you know about the rock paintings, the rock paintings, amazing, dating back I got told actually between 400 years, some of them, because apparently there are paintings of cattle there. So these were not available or not there in the area before the Spaniards arrived. So that's why it could be some dating only 400 years, others 12,000 plus. So you can see some amazing culture, amazing history there, and touch it. Touching things that are 12,000 years old, surreal. As well as that, obviously, as you were saying, just completely beautiful there. We also offer a jungle walk there where you're walking through. It's the same it's an Amazon jungle there, so you're still going to see the monkeys and everything else. There's a lagoon there. You probably went and swam with the pink dolphins there as well. I think there's 8 of them in the water. You don't always see them. Taking a photo, near impossible, but you might feel them around your feet while you're in the water. So it's all a case of, it's the experience which is just unique and different that Colombia offers, nowhere else offers. But it is that extra expense, it is that extra 3-4 days, maybe 5 or 6 days that you have to allow for as well to enjoy that time. So it's not in the path of the tourist path, I should say, generally.
I think this is the evolution of tourism as well, in a, let's say, I don't want to say post-COVID, but post-pandemic maybe era, is that we'll see an evolution where people do not want to be, locked together in amusement parks or in huge all-inclusives, perhaps, I'm saying. More maybe family-run or smaller-run establishments where there's enough breeze. I mean, we were all talking about that, and space, and not crammed with people. Although I see the beaches in the UK on occasion, and the beaches elsewhere, and the people don't seem to care. But I think a more discerning traveller is going to look for things maybe just a bit more out there. I mean, as you've been working in this industry a while, how would you feel about that?
I think you're right. That is more or less what we do offer now. That is, I think, it's more or less what we've always, it's because that is Colombia for me. It's a sustainable, generally it's a sustainable destination. The tourism here, they don't exploit and overpopulate different places. Like for example, Tayrona Park. Everybody wants to go there every day. That's it. But it's impossible. They have a limit on how many people can go there. It's now closed. It was closed for 1 month every year. Now it's closed for 2 weeks in February, 2 weeks in June, 2 weeks in October, to let it breathe and survive. So it's a case of things in Colombia generally. They're looking to be more sustainable, the tourism. The places that are more attractive or more beautiful, more untouched, only really coming out now, I suppose you could say. There are places where you couldn't have traveled 10 years ago or 12 years. I couldn't have, 10 years ago, I couldn't have come into Viterbo freely because of narco slash paramilitary person who was in control. But now it's quite a safe area to walk around. I walk with my dogs in the morning and the night down the streets or down the road, and it's like a rural road. So anything could happen, but nothing ever does happen. It's a safe place. But yeah, I think more people will probably do that, I guess. But we already have, or I feel we offer those tours already. We offer a lot in Santander now, around Barichara, which is just a beautiful, beautiful little town. There's just nature everywhere. So it's not that hard to get out of a city and get some space and get some fresh air and to relax and enjoy yourself in this country. So, yes. But yes, I would agree. People are going to go away from the packed beaches. They're going to go away from the museums, But I think they were already heading that way before. This has just accelerated it.
I think you're right. I think it was moving that way where people have been looking for experiences, and experiences generally mean, away from a mass experience of something more special. So for me, organizing stuff and the Depresión Momposina and all that area, the hardest thing, and we kind of got to start winding this down, but the hardest thing in Colombia is to sort out the logistics, is getting the cars to arrive on time, the taxis and the buses to be, if they're picking up groups, to be, just to do what they say they're going to do and what they're being paid for. What are the challenges for you as an agency owner? What do you find the most difficult?
For me, the logistics, not so hard now. The people I work with, I trust 100%. The drivers, reliable. The cars, perfect. Everything, the actual people I work with, I can't speak highly enough. It's very rare that somebody ever lets me down. For me, the hardest part is basically understanding and sharing exactly what the clients want. I've got a form for people to fill out on our website where people can choose the different areas that they'd like to see. And with a little short explanation of what's in this area, so they can have an idea. As well as that, when people actually contact me, what I've done recently, haven't been just sitting on my hands during this whole time, the last year. We have actually, created a few small videos of different locations, because in reality, nobody wants to read for 20 minutes about a location. They'd rather watch a video for 2 or 3 minutes. So we've created a number of videos. So I just send them links online for that, so they can, more or less get an idea of what's in every location of Colombia in a space of half an hour. And from that, then we can have a chat. We can talk about it. We can work out what they'd like after that. But that's the hardest part, is what I've said is it's showing them or understanding exactly what they would like to experience, because I know we have it here to share.
And too much of it. Too much.
I don't think one visit is enough to Colombia. You can't, spending a month here isn't enough time. It's just, you have to keep coming back.
And I think that helps with the love affair that we all have with Colombia as well. It's just, you could take a different holiday different location to every single holiday. And now I'm in the situation with 2 young children, is I don't want to go to places that they won't remember yet, because I want to be able to take them and they remember. I know my older son remembers the Llanos of Casanare, but it makes no sense to take my 1-year-old there on a safari right now. So we're sort of working towards this. And so at the moment, it's just family visits and so on, things like that. But I think this. When you talk about your promotion and making up videos, do you put them on Instagram then? These short videos to catch people's attention.
We do, but we don't get a lot of followers from there. To be honest with you, because the videos are about between 3 to 6 minutes long, so they're all on YouTube. If you look at our website in the pack, because we have the two different websites, the one that has the packages on, which I think you've seen, there you'll see links to the videos. So we've made like little short 20, 30-second ones for Instagram. So to give people a bit of a taste. So we get people looking at it, checking out, they go to YouTube to view the whole thing. But it is a new thing, it's only been in this last year that we've created these videos. So we're still to test it in the market, so to speak, with when people are really looking. At this stage, people aren't looking for their vacation so much. We're getting a little bit of interest, but very little. I think it's still they're waiting before that, so we don't know yet about that.
Yeah. Well, listen, thank you so much for your time and for sharing these thoughts and of course these reflections on the tourism industry and how we both see it growing. And of course, I am very, very happy that I know that you're including Montpos now.
Absolutely,
is kind of a caveat to you coming on the show, of course. No,
yeah,
I would have had you on anyway. But that said, I think your positive words serve us all well. We need to be looking towards a brighter future and planning for it, like I think most of us have in this last year. It's been sitting down and how do we improve and polish our product and hone our skills to ensure the best. And of course, you've been doing that, and we've been trying to do that here. And so, thank you so much for your time. Please share your website and all other links that we need. Tell us again what it is.
Okay, so the main website, which has got the package tours, is BnB Colombia Tours.com. We do have another website, which is it should be a whole new story, but we have another side to our business which we're trying to build up, which is affiliates, which is the day tours and private transfers throughout Colombia. So that's a different website, which we can explain to anybody who may be interested in just day tours, because I understand, yeah.
All right.
That will be another half an hour.
You heard it here first, and you've been talking to me, Richard McColl. You've been listening to Richard McColl, and of course I've been talking to Bruce Mclean of BnB Colombia Tours.com. And let me just take this moment to say thank you so much for your time. And I have to explain to people out there, I apologize. I was late to recording this. I was out at lunch. I still spend my life in traffic in Bogota, but I'll be shortly in Montpos. But it's been great, and it's really nice to have a open and frank dialogue, conversation about tourism, because it drives so many of us here, and there are so many people I know in this business in some level of it and some connection of it, and it's going to be so important. And 2020 did look like the most incredible year ever, but we can't, that's we can look back on it with regret, but so what? We're past that now.
Yep.
I lament everything, but we've just got to keep moving forward. So, Bruce, thank you so much for your time, and I wish you all the best of luck in these coming months. And may 2022 bring us back up to some, let's say, level of normalcy.
Oh, well, this end of this year is going to be amazing. Next year, it's going to be a big boom.
Excellent.
Everyone.
Well, thank you again. You've been listening to Colombia Calling episode 368. I've been Richard McColl talking to Bruce Mclean in Viterbo in the coffee zone. We'll be back next week with another great interviewee talking about something Colombia related. I know you've been enjoying recent shows because numbers have obviously reflected that. And I think we can sign off from this week's tourism show, and we'll look forward to a positive future once again. So thank you for listening, and goodbye.